Hey, this is Justin Lusk, host of the Above the Noise podcast, and this is actually the release of our very first episode. And this is special to me. 6 years ago, our family's world was turned upside down. Jessica's dad, as you'll hear in the podcast, passed away actually on this release date, which why is special to me. He would have been proud of the podcast. He would have probably been my co-host on the podcast a lot of times because he knew a lot of people and he was invested in people. And it's kind of given me the drive to get to know more about people and to learn about people. So I hope you enjoy the podcast, but I'm excited. And for it to be released on this day, I think is kind of him winking and saying, hey, go get it. Go care about people, learn about people, and love people. Most people never fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they listen to the wrong voices, the doubt, the negativity, the fear. This podcast is about people who figured out how to rise above the noise. Welcome to Above the Noise, hosted by me, Justin Lusk. In a world full of opinions and distractions and constant noise telling us who we are and how we should live and how we should do things, this podcast is about rising above it. Each episode, we're going to sit down with real people in business, faith, family, and community to talk about their journey, the wins, the struggles, the lessons learned, and the mindset that helped them push through the noise to build something meaningful. These real conversations are about life, leadership, success, and the habits that shape who we become. Now let's get started. Before we do, full disclaimer. The conversations in this podcast are for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing discussed here should be considered legal, accounting, financial, investment, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional regarding your specific situation. The opinions shared by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or affiliated organizations. Let's get started. All right, so it's the first episode of the podcast, Above the Noise. I'm your host, Justin Lusk. For those of you who don't know me, I live here in Mont Eagle with my family. I'm a mortgage guy, and I just decided to create a podcast to talk about life in general, talk about how people overcome obstacles. When I think about podcast, I think about, a lot of times it's people that I feel, I guess you could say, is unrelatable. And so I just want to pull out people who have overcome things, just within their life and successful, and go from there. So my first guest, by her demand, is my lovely wife.
I had to beg to be on here. It's pretty sad.
You pretty much told me I could not launch
That's
a
right.
podcast unless you were the first. She's also said that she will probably be a co-host when I have different guests in. So this is my lovely wife, Jessica. She teaches for a nonprofit organization, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. She also owns a store, and she is the mother to our 3 children. So,
And your wife, that's the hardest job.
And my wife, I don't know why she says that's the hardest job, because people that I work with tend to like to work with me.
I know. And they always tell me he's tried to get me to work for him a few times, and I'm like, not going to do it. And they're like, he's so easy to work for. I'm like,
Yeah, that's probably secretly God answering prayers. So as far as that goes, she owns the store. I was her financial guy or whatever. I effectively resigned last year. I said, I can't do this anymore. It's all on you. You and the accountant can take care of this stuff. I'm just the landlord now. So
yeah, that's what he says.
But yeah, so let's get into it. So we both come from a small county. Both graduated same high school. I was a senior. You were a freshman. So therefore, I didn't really notice you.
Our school was a lot bigger back then.
I remember you standing by the locker all the time with your little.
See, he does remember me.
With your little cliquish group, I guess you could say.
He still remembers.
Meanwhile, I was on my way out with Knoxville in my eyes. So just let's just have a conversation back and forth. Yeah. What was life growing up? As far as, did you have any obstacles, challenges? that you saw just growing up?
Honestly, no, not really. I mean, I was very blessed. I mean, I had 2 Christian parents and 4 grandparents that loved me, and got to know some of my great grandparents, and we all lived within the Grooteland Palmer area. And so I had lots of cousins. And no, I mean, honestly, life was good. It was really great, honestly. So I didn't really have any necessarily true challenges. I was very fortunate in that department. So
Yeah.
what about you?
Same. Fortunate from a parent standpoint. Grew up on a farm. A lot of people, they look at me when I say that. They're like, "You grew up on a farm?"
I do. I look at you and say that.
I know, because, I think there was at some point in time you mentioned about how soft my hands were.
I do remember that when we first started dating.
Honestly, they're still soft because back then, regardless of what my brother and sister say, I did work on the farm. I did actually do stuff. My dad owned a timber business. I did work in the woods. I did the physical labor. It just was not for me.
It was not for you.
I found a different path, but I would not trade how I grew up for anything in the world. A lot of freedom, a lot of fun. I think about the things that I did. Would I let my kids do that? No way.
It's a different
possible.
time, though.
I mean, I was like 12 years old on a 4-wheeler driving off to no phones, no cell phones, nothing. Meeting friends, going to what we call the blue hole.
I know.
Which basically you can't touch bottom, jumping off of the falls. My parents had no clue when I would be back. They couldn't check location.
So I didn't have that kind of childhood.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I was very... Probably, you remember when we started dating, we would go like 4-wheeler riding, and it would panic
You would make me so mad.
I know.
Because I couldn't even give it gas, and you're freaking out. You're hitting me. And I'm like, we ride
so I was
wheelies
a little
on
sheltered.
This. Yeah.
So I was a little sheltered.
You were sheltered.
So we both grew up very Christian oriented and God centered. I feel like we had a lot of the same type of upbringing, and we've chosen to raise our kids the same way. And I came from a independent Methodist or congregational Methodist at the time background, and you were Baptist. And so looking at it, really, there's not a ton of difference really in our beliefs, just a couple things that we kind of still go back and forth on, I guess. But
I think any Christian, regardless of denominations, even in the same, you're going to have disagreements and agreements. And my whole philosophy, and I'll tell anybody this, is your relationship with Jesus. Is not what the doctrine says, but I think you have to be careful on how you define your relationship in this world. I think a lot of people loosely have a loose relationship, but that's something you and I both agree on. Is like we understand that it's our relationship, but the good thing is we can agree on things to guide our kids and stuff. So, question: so when I came up with this podcast idea, what did you think it would turn into? What I know we've talked about it before, just in general. Me and you just doing a podcast over who knows what. That's kind of what this is.
It's just fun because we both like to talk, which is funny. They say opposites attract, but in that case, our kids hate us mutually because we both like to talk, and everywhere we go, they're always waiting on one of us or both of us. But no, when you come up with ideas, like how's this going to tie into like your job and mortgage, and then once you got to explain it to me, I kind of understood a little more. And I just think our area needs this. Like, we're in an area where it's just like, we can reap a lot of negativity for some reason. And we need to showcase some of like our talents and the people that, you're going to bring in people not from here, obviously, but I also think in the area, it's important to showcase the people that have done well.
Yeah. And that was the one thing that kind of started spurring the thought and spurring the name of the podcast, Above the Noise, is because there is a stereotype of many years ago about Grundy, but it's not necessarily about Grundy. It's just about people who have overcome the challenges. Yeah. And so when I started thinking about that, and I started thinking about a number of people, and it almost was like connecting the dots. You think about one person, then you think about another person. I know we have politicians, we have CEOs, we have heart surgeons, like there's tons and tons of successful people. And so I just want to highlight in general, if someone's listening, because when I think of podcast, I think of the likes of Sean Ryan, I think of Joe Rogan and their Ed Milet, and they're having these just awesome guests. And I think that's great. But I also want to, encourage people that are maybe in the local area about what is surrounding them, and the successful people. So I'm really interested to have more people on the show because I think when we look at some of these big people who are multimillionaires and stuff like that, and that's great for their success. But I think there's still something to speak for the people who have come from things.
And I think it's more relatable, especially for people in our area. It's more relatable.
I think some people have a cool story to tell. They might know, like somebody might know a little bit about them, but maybe there's more that they want to know about them.
Speaking of stories, shall we tell them how we met?
Sure.
Oh, do you want to go first?
Well, you can go ahead and tell your side of it.
Okay.
And I'll see if I agree.
My best friend growing up got married right out of high school. And so her fiance, somebody we also, she grew up with too, but he's a few years older than her. And he went to school at Knoxville and had this roommate that also was from our hometown, but a few years older than us. And so we were just out of high school like a week or two, and it was her wedding, and she had tried to hook me up, and I got out of a long-term relationship, and I was like, I'm not interested. And I go to this wedding, and I'm walking with this guy, and he just won't leave me alone. So that's you.
Yeah. I take it from a different angle that I swept you off your feet right there. It was
apparently, because I never got rid of you after that.
I know, right? It was probably, believe it or not, the hair.
He did have good hair. It was going already.
No, I don't know.
You were fixing it in a way that it hit it, but it was going.
I guess so. I did spend a lot of time on my hair.
You had these really cool sunglasses. I remember that. Between the sunglasses, the hair, and the tux, it just sold me.
It was probably everything. And then what sold me on you was actually a lie.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you after the wedding and just chit chat. And I said, well, you're going to college. What are you going to do? And you said,
I'm going to be an accountant.
I'm going to be an accountant.
Lie number one in a relationship, right? You say?
Well, I think that was probably one of the biggest ones because then.
Because you were seeing dollar signs. Let's just admit it.
I thought, hey, I don't really have a great knowing of what I'm going to do. But if she does, then at least somebody can support us. And then I figured out that you can't add without using your fingers.
No.
Should I test you right now?
No, it's really my multiplication. I, for some reason, use them with that. I don't know. I'm just not a math girl.
What's 8 times 8?
I can write a paper.
Okay, we'll just leave that there.
No, seriously, I can write a paper all day long, but
that's true. But that's why I'm thankful for AI.
Yeah,
now.
You are.
So because
nothing's like true words.
That's where I guess we're opposite. But no. So from that point, just like any classic person would do, our first date was
Reiner and Palmer
in my
Mustang
that I still have.
Ford GT Mustang.
It's a GT. If you're going to have a Mustang, you better have a GT.
Yeah. We rode around, and then I went like on a vacation or something. And
you did actually. You went on the vacation right after the wedding.
Oh, I did, and it was the next week that we rode around.
Yeah. Because I think your sister. She was a fan of mine off the start too.
She does. Can you believe that now?
She still loves me.
She still loves you.
I'm her favorite brother-in-law. I guess
I get your only
one. So
actually, no. Now she has another one on the other side. But yeah, she does love you. She is a fan.
Yeah. So.
So yeah, we went riding around, and pretty much the rest is history.
So our first year in a relationship, though, I was still in Knoxville, and I came home a lot more then. So I guess there was always that. You got to enjoy.
Not during if it was a home game, you still didn't come home.
That's true, but you got to come up and visit.
I did come up a lot.
And that's when I introduced you to the Rocky Top group.
The Rocky Top group. Yeah. We love the Rocky Top.
I don't know if we should give a shout out to one of the guys because then he'll hold it over our head about how obnoxious he was the first time you met him. He could probably pick it up by listening to the podcast. But
yeah, the Rocky Top group's a huge part of our lives.
So I went to Knoxville, and I've told people this a ton. They're like, "What did you graduate in?" And I said, "Football." I graduated in football, and but college was a life experience. I would have never told you, "Hey, I'm going to get my economics degree, and what I'm going to do with that." I had no clue. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to go, and my parents were okay with it. They encouraged me, but out of that life experience has turned into lifelong friends that we have now been doing stuff together with for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And then, so I guess kind of segueing into that, we've talked quite a bit. We'll talk about college for a little bit. You went to Montlow.
No, I didn't. I never went to Montlow.
That's how well I know my wife.
You went to Chattanooga State.
That's right. I don't know why I thought Montlow.
You were at UT enjoying football at the time. I went to Chattanooga State for 2 years. So we were dating 1 year of that, and 1 year of that we were engaged. And so, because we got engaged on July the 4th, wasn't it? It wasn't my birthday. You tricked me.
Birthday.
It was your birthday.
Right.
On Timms Ford Lake.
And I said, if you didn't say yes, then
that was it.
You're going to have to jump out of the boat.
He did not want me to go off to MTSU and join a sorority or meet somebody else. So he gave me a ring. And so we got married between my sophomore and junior year of college. I transferred from Chat State to MTSU.
You were not even 21, were you? How
I was 20. Yeah, no, I wasn't even
23.
And I see people do that now, and I'm like, they're crazy. They're crazy.
I look at them the same way. I'm like, y'all are kids.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And you were 3 years older than me, so really you should have been out there killing it and making a living and supporting me, right?
I mean, I was
graduation to buy me an engagement ring from his college graduation.
I did. Boy, I've done some crazy stuff in life. So just quickly on college, we have 3 kids. One is a sophomore, another one in 7th grade, another in 3rd. We've had the conversation before. What's your thoughts on college now?
Well, so one time I would have told you it's essential almost. You can't do anything without it. I would not say that anymore. I feel like now, for one, all this AI and stuff is taking over. So, I mean, when you get a trade job or something of that nature, that's probably more definite and more secure than you go out and get an office job or something of that nature. But yeah, I don't feel as strongly about it unless they get it. You can get fully paid education now. That's huge. So if you get it fully paid for, why not? And if there's a way that you're not going to have to be in debt for it, I think that you should do it. But otherwise, I just don't think it's essential. Like, if you know what you want to do, it's okay. But if you don't, I just don't think it's essential now.
Yeah, I think so. When it was time when I was graduating, it was same circumstance. You graduate, you go get a degree. Doesn't matter what it's in, because pretty much anybody's going to look at your resume and they're going to want to see that you have that degree on there.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really didn't have a clue. I wouldn't say wasted 2 years, but I really was not focused for a few years.
But it helps you grow. I think that's another thing.
Well,
it helps you grow as an individual.
Going back, like it was an expensive life experience, but I wouldn't trade the expense for the connections I made, for the friendships that I made when it comes to that. So I think from this standpoint, and you've heard me tell Brooks this, I mean, I'm not going to be one. I hope he goes to college. But if he tells me like he's adamant about something else, we're not going to invest our money in that if he knows he's doing something. For example, for my career, yes, it's great that I have that, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
You know, my career, you pass a licensing test and then you hustle. You go out and you work. You don't have to have a college degree. And then, as you mentioned with AI, it's going to be very interesting on how that changes things. And I've heard something that says AI will make more millionaires in the next 5 years than the combined millionaires that's out there right now. You just gotta.
I mean, I had somebody recently just tell me that they walked away from engineering. Wasn't you not talking about this?
A lot of engineers.
Somebody just recently walked away from engineering. They were going to school to be an engineer, but they realized real quick how soon AI is fixing to take that industry over, and they've decided to do something else. I don't remember who that was, but I think they're going into veterinarian now because they can't, really do that, But I do think it's not essential. Dad always made us feel like he could have got so much more ahead in life had he went to college. And so I think he was intimidated by people that had a higher education than him. So I think he was I don't remember Mom being so much that way, but Daddy really encouraged us to go to school. Like, that was essential. I mean, Lindsay she went on and got her, the certificate or whatever for CT. She does CTs, and like, she didn't have that 4-year degree, but she's done as well as I have financially in that job, So, I mean, yeah, you don't have to have a 4-year bachelor's degree to be successful. And I think we a lot of times look at education as success.
Yeah. And So, kind of talking on that realm, you were in school, you were at MTSU when we got married,
Mm-hmm.
and we were on a one household income.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was, before I got into banking, I was working 12, 14 hours a day doing erosion control all the way from Chattanooga to Clarksville to Parsons. If you're in the Chattanooga area, Amnicola Parkway, veteran, the VFW to the boat dock, I take all credibility.
He does.
That.
He randomly makes us go look at it.
I would love to. It's like an 8-mile walk. I walked it a lot of times. I would love to go right now and walk it or ride it so I can tell my kids I planted that tree.
You have
I planted
told
that
them
tree. I planted that tree.
And at the Nashville airport.
Worked at the Nashville airport. So, but it was learning process.
There was a lot of lonely nights because he worked most week. You worked most week.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. We've never really talked about it, but because we were married, we were living in Manchester at the time. And, now to think about it, like I was up and going at 6 and not home till 7 or 8.
Which I was in college, but looking back, like, I don't know why I didn't get a job. I don't know why I didn't do that, but I think I did drive back and forth quite a bit to school, and I was working on school. So, but yeah, I was in college that whole time you were doing that. But I do remember lots of nights, you not being there till really late and stuff, and it was kind of stressful. I mean, and I was by myself. It wasn't like I could go, to somebody's house, and I didn't really have a lot of people down there that I knew at the time.
Yeah, and I remember we had the conversation when I was still in college about the word success. You mentioned it a while ago. And do you remember what you said about success, how you defined it at the time?
I don't know if I remember exactly how I defined it.
Well, I just remember I was in Knoxville, so I was away. So I was pretty eager to come back home and live. You, on the other hand, were starting college. You were more so eager to explore. And I just remember us having the conversation about success, and you were about a career path.
I was, and I don't know why I got that in my head. It totally changed, though. I mean, and I don't know. I think the more our family grew, like as a whole, not us, but, the nieces and nephews started coming along and spending more time with them and spending more time with our parents, and that whole unit of family started to grow. I think that changed. I think that shifted a lot for me. It's like...
Because I remember having the conversation, and I'm like, you're defining success as a monetary value or a status value. On the other hand, I was like, I'm defining it more of a family value. And I know we had conversations of where are we going to end up? Like,
I always said, and I'll tell my students that all the time, like, I always said I didn't want to end up here. Like, I thought that's because Dad always said I'm okay with one of you ending up on one coast, one of you ending up on the other. But that was just, he wanted to have us to have freedom to do that if that's what we wanted to do. He didn't want to hold us back. But so I just thought that meant that's what I needed to do, kind of thing in my mind. But no, I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change the coming back here and living and raising our family here for nothing.
Yeah. And, so I remember we go on our honeymoon, we went to Hawaii, we get home, and a night or two later, literally we're in Manchester, it's 30 minutes from where we live right now.
Yeah.
And you looked over at me and you were like,
can I go home?
I want to go back.
Go home.
I was like, oh my
literally
goodness.
30 minutes away. I mean, but I had not, you have to realize, like, I didn't stay away from home a ton, like I had not been on big trips without my family. You had been in college, I had not done that. So I feel like that's what led me to, being so homesick and stuff like that,
Yeah.
But,
so let's talk about our first few years of marriage. We both mutually decided that we didn't want to have kids off the bat.
Now you've changed your mind about that.
I kind of have, because I'm like
it's too late, obviously.
I mean, I'm looking at some people around my age, not going to call any names out. They got grandkids. Their kids are out of the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, now's when they're making money. Now's when they got money.
Yeah, because we were poor. We was playing rock band in the living room with
that was a classic.
Your cousins that were not much younger than me, We were living our best life doing that because we were poor. I mean, there wasn't anything much we could go do.
We would grab a pizza. That's about it.
Yeah.
Get a VHS tape, go to Blockbuster.
Remember lots of times spending
aging us.
That is aging us, but we didn't do a lot. We didn't do a lot with our time. We did try to travel some.
Yeah.
And we went on some trips, and that turned us having trip anxiety, but it's okay because Justin, long story short, ended up in the ER in Colorado with altitude sickness, and 4 bags of fluid later, he was finally
And still laying around. That was...
Yeah. And anyway, we ended up going home early. It's a long story, but yeah, it was not the best travel experience of our time. And plus, we were poor. We didn't have all this money.
Yeah. The only good thing about that is now I'm a big believer in travel insurance. We're taking a trip. We spent a lot of money on travel insurance.
I think that fully paid for our trip.
It did pay for our trip.
So it was a free trip.
We didn't expect it. We flew home a day early. Denver got hit with an ice storm the next day. It would have shut it down.
Yeah. So we tried to do all that. And then we got pregnant with Brooks. Yeah. Probably.
Let's time out. Do you remember that trip in the airport on the way home? So we're going through customs. My wife is not very good at time management.
Oh, yeah. They made me throw all my stuff away.
I kind of made you throw all your stuff away.
You made me throw all my stuff away. I'm not good at that.
Because I'm sitting here in the airport and I want to be there. I want to be waiting to board. And there's been a few flights that literally you've either checked baggage or you've done something and they're boarding the plane. I'm a nervous wreck.
That's why I've got TSA pre-check now.
So we were still no kids, married a few years. And I remember going through the line and like our plane is leaving in like 30 minutes or so, and we still had to catch a tram and we still had to go, and they open your bag and you've got all these cosmetics and they're like, whose is this? And you're like, it's mine. And they're like, well, you can't go through there. And I said, what are the options? And the guy goes, well, you can get out of line, which was forever long, go to the store and get like Ziploc baggies. This was a lot different at the time.
Why are you telling this story?
Because this was one of our, people ask if we argue. Like, I remember you got so mad at me.
We argue over dumb stuff.
Because I looked at the guy and I said, throw it away. And you looked at me like, I am going to kill you. You said, my sister got me this stuff for Christmas. And I said, I don't care at this moment. Throw it away. And I don't think you talked to me the whole way home.
Oh, no, it was real turbulent. I remember the turbulence being bad on that trip.
Yeah.
Of all trips. Because I'm like, oh, goodness, of all trips, this has been the worst trip.
But those are the things I look back over and just kind of trigger. And you think of the moments, at the time it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And now.
I'll tell you what, we didn't tell a story that we probably should have told because we need to go back to us being married.
Okay. We're still married.
Like getting married, I should say. So at the altar, and we're saying our vows. You like to bring this up a lot. What happened? Do you remember?
Yeah, your vow to me.
This is our second. You said the first thing that I lied about was the accountant. The second thing I've lied about.
Yeah, I don't know you necessarily say as a lie, but your statement. You made some harmful statements to me through the years. So we were getting married. Your uncle, bless his heart.
Well, I gave him too much to read. He was used to his traditional.
He was used to traditional marriages, but you can't be traditional other than us getting married in a church. And that was before venues, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Would you get married in a venue today?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So he's reading and he stumbles over his words. I say my vows perfectly fine, which included for richer or poorer.
Yeah.
And you, though, he stumbles over his words and says for richer. You knew that poorer was part of the vows, but you only said for richer.
If you look back at that video, I mouthed the words poorer.
Well, the good news for you is we've made it. Hopefully, we've made it. God's blessed us very much. So we made it through some pretty struggling times.
We did. That first year or two of marriage was rough.
But then do you remember about us going Christmas shopping? Your parents come down. They picked us up.
Oh, forever. And you just reminded me and the children of this.
We did. And Brooks's girlfriend, I think, was with us. We drove by. The guy looked at us kind of weird because he was standing outside. And I said, kids, it was on that front porch right there that your mom, we were going Christmas shopping, and your mom looked at me in front of your nay and your papa. And we was talking about finances because we was broke as a joke and we was going Christmas shopping. And I was like, hey, we need to be careful what we spend. And she looked at me and she said, your dad said, oh, Jess, it's okay. You've got love. I remember that. And you said, well, sometimes I'd rather have money.
And that is the statement you will never forget.
I know. I might put that on your headstone. Sometimes I'd rather have
terrible. But I disagree. I was just mad or something. I guess I didn't like the way you come across probably telling me not to spend money. I never like it when you tell me not to spend money. So
and I've tried for 22 years to tell you.
But
not to spend
I'm
money.
not always, and Mom will tell you that. I've not always been a spender. Um,
Well, I think even now you still look for the sales, but you look for a lot of sales.
Yeah, I buy more. I'll buy stuff on sale, but I buy more of it.
Okay. If we get talking to shopping,
Yeah,
then everything's going crazy.
So that was a crazy time. And then the time that you told me was I going to wear anything else to MTSU but a sweatshirt? And I was like, I guess you would figure I wouldn't be trying to dress up for anybody. I'm married,
Yeah. Well, maybe if you could go shopping and had money, you would have had more than sweatshirts.
Yeah.
So, but then you go to graduate. We're married at the time. I then started working at Citizens Tri-County Bank. Yeah. So that was the start of my finance career in McMinnville.
It's in who you know, right?
We moved to McMinnville. How much did we pay for our first house?
$85,000.
$85,000. Yep. We did an 80-20 loan. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
What?
We had to take out the down payment, the 20% down payment, PMI insurance.
Good job.
I do teach personal finance.
So, and I had no clue what we were doing. I'm now in a mortgage role, and I look back at that guy that bought that home then.
And thinking, you're crazy.
Like, well, and that's why I take such an importance of educating my clients now. Because I went to work for the bank. They said, you need to move to McMinnville. I started searching I was kind of arrogant at the time, because I was like, I got good credit. I can just buy a house. I didn't know all the details that went into it and pretty much didn't know what I was getting into. Sign. And, kind of crazy at the time, but it worked out because we stayed there. We live in McMinnville about 5 years.
Did we live there that long?
Yeah,
I guess so. I guess so. 4 or 5.
And so you were graduating. And at the time you was graduating MTSU, you worked an internship. And I remember when you told me you literally was about to graduate in a month or two. And you looked at me and you were like, I think I want to go back and get my degree to teach.
Yeah. And you looked at me like I was crazy because of course your mom had been a teacher. 1, 2, you married me thinking I was going to make lots of money, And teaching is never something I had always thought. And I thought, well, I never thought about being a teacher. I mean, and I thought that was one of those callings you your whole life, And what happened was when I was at MTSU and I had that scholarship, I had to do scholarship work on campus, and I worked in the business education department and met a lot of neat people and enjoyed working with them. And they were talking about lesson plans and doing this, doing that, and some cool stuff. And I'm like, I could do that. I enjoy this, enjoy helping them. And so I told you that, and you looked at me like I was insane.
Well, I was tired of living off of one income for the fact that you were going to go back to school.
Yeah.
But it worked out because you were able to teach on that waiver, and you did get into teaching. But you did have a little stint working in a real estate office in their marketing department.
Yeah.
Which is pretty neat because
it's come full circle now.
Yeah. After years went by, then I got to meet an agent, and when I told you about it, you was like, I worked with him. Mm-hmm. And so that's
it was a cool experience. I mean, I could see myself working in real estate. We've always talked about real estate and enjoy looking at homes and this and that. And you always tell me teachers, that's usually their second job, although I've chose a different path of a second job. So, but yeah, I really, that was a cool experience. I'm glad I did that. But then I worked on the waiver and taught school. And I was hired as a JAG teacher and a marketing teacher at Grundy County High School. And so did that for 14, 15 years.
Yeah. And
during that time, which I had three kids during that time.
Yeah. So that was kind of when our life transitioned, when we had Brooks. The mountain was calling our name. We wanted to come back. We ended up selling our house. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy to think $85,000, but is what we bought it for, and we sold it, I think, for $117,000, $115,000, which I'd be curious to know what in general the house is worth today. But that kind of helped us springboard. We planned on building in Mont Eagle, or not in Mont Eagle. We planned on building at the Junction.
At the Junction.
And we didn't end up doing that. We lived with your parents in the garage apartment.
In the garage apartment. Yes, they had just built an apartment above their garage. And so we lived there for, 6 months, probably at least to a year, maybe. Maybe a year.
Probably closer to a year.
Yeah. Brooks was 6 months old when we moved in, and he was probably about a year and a half when we moved out. So, yeah.
Because we initially planned on building, and then we come to an auction here in Mont Eagle.
Yeah, on a whim.
And I raised my hand.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like, I can't believe we just did this.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I'm now kind of the black sheep of my family.
Yeah, you are.
Because that farm that I grew up on was in Skymont.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody knows my family, is like,
they don't move out.
You don't move out of Skymont.
Yeah.
Which I let you be the scapegoat. I let you be the blame for that.
But truly, this was just like more, which my sister was living out here at the time too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've always been, we got closer as we got older, but being out here together has helped that. And so, and then you just didn't really, you really didn't show as, honestly, I probably showed more interest in being Skymont than you did.
Well, and it's kind of bittersweet though, even especially in the summers, you know, when everybody's hanging out. And like I said, I grew up riding four-wheelers out there with friends and doing all of that. So it is bittersweet, but I was thinking more from the standpoint of a logistics standpoint. At the time, you know, when we were living with your parents, I was driving to Dunlap, working there out of the mortgage department. And then when we moved here, still the same thing. And then later on worked out of Chattanooga. Yeah. And so it was just a challenge. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want to. And of course,
family land too. You didn't really want to be on family land and then end up having to sell it.
Yeah, it's family property. And I knew that I would probably want to sell if we built something. So
you would.
I do, or I would. So we bought this house out here, and then we kind of just fell in love with the community, the area.
Yeah, because it was still home enough. We knew people. We built a home, and just the convenience. And my mom worked out here, and I seen them a lot more than I would had we been in Skymont. I mean, we go to church in Skymont, so we would see your family. But yeah, we really definitely fell in love with this area. Probably.
You would think I'd ask my dad to drive to Florida to come out to Montego.
All roads lead to Skymont. Justin will be like, Dad, let's go golfing at Willowbrook. And he'd be like, you going to come pick me up?
You going to stop by here?
You going to stop by here and pick me up? We're like, Dad, no, I go the other way. Go to the interstate.
But there is something. So the cool thing about that is, though, with family having all the property and between my brother and my cousin trying to buy every acre out there. But it is nice that the kids still get to experience that.
Nan and Pa camp.
Nan and Pa camp in the summertime. I'm always about dishing the kids off on grandparents.
I think Briggs
loves it.
Yeah, Briggs would be my kid that would love to live out there the most, probably.
Yeah, Willow enjoys it. She enjoys fishing, and Brooks, I think sometimes he gets out of his shell too.
Very rarely. He's more like you.
Yeah, we're more yelling at Tennessee.
Yeah, he's definitely baseball. His father's son in lots of ways.
Yeah. So, but so then we ended up buying a home in Montego, and the next thing you know, we lived in it. So that home, trying to think of what year we bought it. Brooks was born in 2009, so maybe 2010. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
We bought that home for, I think, $130,000. Put about $20,000 into it. We sold it for $200,000, and then here a year or two ago, it sold for over $400,000.
It just tells you how times have changed.
Times have changed. The area itself is changed. There's a lot of, you get to experience it with a store. There's a lot of people that enjoy coming and visiting here in Montego.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me, like how much, you know, we've talked in times past about a stigma that this area tends to get, the bad stigma or whatever. And like, it's sad that others see the good, you know what I mean? And we don't really see it as much. Well, and we need to, because there is so much good.
There is, and fortunately, I think Grundy itself has done a better job of promoting the good. Because I'll tell you this as far as Grundy goes, because I get aggravated about it. There's always a stigma of what happened in like the 50s and 60s. And I'm like, guys, I wasn't even, like, my parents were not even born when some of this stuff happened. And, but they've done a really good job promoting, because we have some of the most beautiful places up here. So you got Savage Gulf, you got Stone Door, you got Greeter Falls, you got a lot of the, Fiery Gizzard and Foster Falls and all the areas around. And I think when we realized how much people outside appreciated it was in COVID. You remember when we tried to go?
We would go and it was too packed, which a lot of people were doing in state parks because that's about all you could do.
Yeah, they were. But like every one of them, there were people from hours away coming just to do that. So, but it's a beautiful place. We actually, hopefully one day we'll build unless somebody writes me a big check. But we'll build on a bluff on our property, and we'll do that. So you have your career.
Teaching.
You started teaching, and
for
then
14 years.
For 14 years. So let's talk about the teaching just for a little bit. You obviously changed your mind toward the end of your degree.
COVID changed things.
But what is it about teaching? Because teaching kind of has a bad, and I hate it because teachers kind of have a special place. You mentioned mom was a teacher. My sister's a teacher. You were in the education system. I really liked all of my teachers that I had. But it's really a calling. But what challenges do you see that teachers face right now? And what was the reason? Because from a pay standpoint, it's not the greatest paying job.
I don't think it's a calling. You don't do it because to begin with, I thought this is going to be, fun. I'm going to do creative things. But seriously, you do it like you've told me in times past, or you would tell me, like when I get frustrated about different changes or whatever, you'd be like, go off the mountain. You can get more pay. But it's helping people in your community. For me, it's giving back to my community in a way that through the kids and through the students that I've taught and trying to help them, especially in the role I'm in now. But even before that, like just being able to help them and get their lives like, just be maybe that one person for somebody or something. I just feel like teachers are definitely underappreciated. And in today's world, it's harder. I mean, you've got social media that people tend to want to, post on and things, and it just makes it hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of comparison. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they said, comparison is the robber of joy.
Yeah.
When you compare. But when you look back at that, though, it's kind of pretty cool that you see where some of your students have ended up and landed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And, it's funny because like one of my favorite success stories is just when they can tell me that they want to do something. They're like, I'm going to go do this, and then you see that they've done it. And it's just a really cool, aha moment, I guess. And it's just rewarding.
Yeah.
To me.
Which I kind of have the benefit in it too, because I'll get a phone call and it'll be like, hey, I was in Miss Lusk's class, which throws me for a loop.
Did they call me Miss Lusk? Yeah.
That they do. And they're like, yeah, it was the best class. Like it helped me get prepared. And then all of a sudden they're asking me about helping them buy a home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I make you be a speaker in my class to this day, because and anybody that comes to my class, I think it's important because like they'll remember them, they'll remember it years down the road. Because I remember people that would come speak to my classes back in high school. So
yeah, absolutely. So teaching, so you taught for a while,
about 14 years, I guess.
About 14 years, and then toward the end of it, that was when COVID happened. Things were awful. Crazy. I remember trying. Brooks was in 5th grade. Was that right?
4th grade.
4th grade. Willow was probably wasn't
first.
Kind of like it was a struggle.
It was awful.
Between doing that, we felt the stigma. You couldn't go outside. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't breathe. You couldn't look at anybody. Like it was kind of crazy. Schooling had changed. Like it was just different. But there was a key moment that really impacted our lives in COVID.
Yeah, losing Daddy definitely made like life just different, and it took you a moment. You just had to step back and think, like, what's important, and like, what do we really want to do with our lives now? Because I didn't want his death to be in vain. Like, I wanted to do something that would make him proud of me, and I wanted to do something that, kind of that he had sort of talked about doing in a way. Is like, he used to always tell us about how he would love to own a store. I think he just envisioned himself talking to everybody that come in. But he wanted to do that, and he talked about this business idea or that business, and he never did it because he was just, he wanted to be
very
secure.
Low risk.
Low risk, yeah. Wanted that security. And so, after we lost him, it was like I didn't have anything to lose. I didn't love what I was doing anymore. And so I decided, hey, let's just risk it. And you were doing very well with mortgage. That was an industry that just kept going stronger and stronger during COVID. And so we were in a good place to be able for me to walk away from teaching. And I did. And I don't ever regret that year that I did that. And I'm glad we did the business.
Yeah. Because I remember because I may have bounced one or two crazy ideals off of you during our marriage.
Yeah, one or two.
Maybe I've wanted to change my career path. I know there's been times.
Been some very random things.
There's
very
been,
random.
I mean, by this time I could have been an optometrist. I could have been a
Physical
PTA.
therapist assistant.
I've even threatened at times just to go mow yards.
Yeah.
You know,
that would probably be the one you've said the most. Yeah.
Yeah, I still may do that. I
Yeah.
don't know. But when you came to me, and of course you were wanting to do this, and I guess if we're talking about noise, then I was kind of like, honey, this is the retail world. Like, this is a challenge. You have big box stores. And,
you challenged me to write a business plan for you.
Yeah, I don't think you did.
I did. I don't know if I ever gave it to you. Yeah, I don't think I ever gave it to you. But, obviously when I was in college and growing, I knew I wanted to do something in marketing and the creative aspect. And I always liked to plan events. So I thought I want to be a wedding coordinator or something of that nature. And then I realized I don't really want to give my weekends up and things like that. So that kind of died down. And then once boutiques got popular and I realized, hey, I love to shop. Daddy used to tell me all the time, you need to be a buyer as much as you like to shop, that's essentially what I am now. So, but I think of him often when people are coming in and I'm meeting them for the first time and I'm like, oh, Dad would love to be sitting up here with me and meeting all these people and talking to all these women, hugging them all and kissing them all and all that.
Spreading his germs. He was about that. Yeah. I would imagine he would probably be here almost every day.
He probably would.
For sure. So, but when you told me that, I thought, like you said, I was fortunate in the mortgage world because of people I know, clients. I was just really blessed. So at the time I transitioned over from one job to where I'm at now, and I was kind of nervous because I went from that secured salary with bonuses to strictly commission, and really didn't know how it was going to play out. But she was a huge supporter of that. I guess you'd hear me fussing or griping or whatever. But so from that standpoint, because essentially I am self-employed, but you were a big supporter, but then the rewards paid off because it set us up for a position.
I know how hardworking you are, so I knew you weren't going to fail. So I knew that you would be good. You'd already had that mortgage experience with a couple different companies, and so I knew you had the experience, and I know you had the willingness to work hard, and I think risk did pay off. And definitely, I wasn't raised that way. So,
and that's so what was funny about that? So your parents both W-2, just very low risk. What was funny about my parents, my mom, she was a teacher, so she had that consistency. She is the low risk. What was funny about my dad, he was always like, son, go get a good job. Go get your degree, get a good job. Where his whole life, pretty much, there was a stint he worked at a factory, but he didn't stay there because he liked doing his own thing, which passed on down to my brother owning his own company. And, but it was just interesting because he kind of preached low risk, but then at the same time, I saw the risk he took and the rewards that he had. And, so I guess that's what nudged me, but from your basis, both sides of your family were like that. So,
and so, I didn't know anything else but to do that. So, that's why I think I kind of wanted to reach out, do something different. Because, Dad always wanted to, he was just scared. And I was like, life's too short. He talked about retirement. He's not going to enjoy, all the benefits of that. And so, I just felt like that was what the Lord was calling me to. I felt like that's what I needed to do to kind of, honor Daddy and stuff like that.
So I remember, I was supportive. I was also skeptical when it come down to it. But also, it was more so of our investment into the company. I don't know if I've asked you this. Did you have any other pushback from family, friends, or anybody being
I'll never forget when I started teaching, though. When I decided I wanted to be a teacher, I had all kinds of pushback from different people. Why are you thinking? Why are you doing this? But no, I didn't have any that I remember when I opened the store. I think it came at such a time that everybody knew I needed a change.
Well, I think after COVID, everybody was like, hey, take your shot. You know?
It was just, it was. Times had just Yeah. It was not going to work out. Just me staying in education and stuff like the way it was.
Yeah. And then, so you opened in 2021, still in business today. So you're fortunate. I'll let you tell a story. We were about to go on a trip. You were running the store. You took the year off, and then
I had one employee. I took the year off. We were pretty much managing.
You took the year off from school.
Yeah. Well, I did put a leave of absence in for school just to be secure in that I was going to do this and make it happen. And then I got a call from John Dwyer, who is the CEO of JAG Tennessee. It used to be JTG, Jobs for America's Graduates. And I had known him because I worked. That's what I was hired in for when I started teaching 14 years ago. And so he called me right before we was going on a trip with our family to Hawaii. We were going to be gone for 2 weeks. And he called me and he was like, "What are you doing?" And, we talked back and forth and we talked about why I left and the company, or, quit teaching JAG. And I'm like, year after year, I never knew what was going to happen. And he'd come on board, but I was already in my mind thinking, this is not going to work. They're trying to get me to teach too many classes, And so he was like, okay. He goes, "I get it, but, have some faith in me." And, I said, "You were never the problem." And he said, "What if I make you an offer?" And I said, "I've got this business. I don't have any interest in going back to teaching." And he said, "What if I make it worth your while? And, I offer you this and you teach your schedule and I'll work it out with your principal and your CTE director." And I said, "If you can work it out with them, we'll talk, let's see if you can." And so he did. He had a Zoom call or went and met with him. I can't remember. And so he called me after we got back from Hawaii. He's like, "We can make it happen if this is what you want to do." And I was like, which I say that I was never wanting to go back, but I miss the kids. Like I miss I miss my coworkers, but definitely miss the kid interaction. And I'll tell you, it's hard for somebody that wants to give back and to help people and to have that nature, I guess, about yourself, to feel like you're being needed by somebody or something and to kind of give that all up. Yes, I'm providing clothing and gifts for the area, but so I did go back into it because I was missing that part of my life, I feel like. So I really have enjoyed it since I've been back. So this is I think it's my 4th school year.
So you started in 21, you started back to them in 22. Yeah. So
yeah, this is my 4th year back. And I love it. I love everything about JAG and what it means. It's teaching resume writing, interview skills. I have a guest speaker from all kinds of different industries because, you and I have talked, it's important to know all these different fields because it's like, everybody thinks teachers and engineers and nurses and all the basic things, but we kind of want them to understand that there's other things out there too. We just want them to be exposed, or I want them to be exposed. So we have people come in and talk and, life skills. And when I tell them what I do, they're like, "Gosh, that's so needed." Like you wouldn't believe how many people's like, "Gosh, that is so needed."
So I know you tell me that you tell your kids this, which this drives me crazy. If I'm going to go shake someone's hand, you better give me a firm grip.
I do tell my kids.
And but it's interesting that you have to tell kids this. It's like,
we have a handshake
common
quiz.
knowledge?
Yes, we do. And we talk about it and like the limp fish, and I tell them like what not to do. And
can't stand it.
We have a conversation about that. We have conversation about, this week we've been on virtual and like they're answering questions. I'm sending them videos, Lord help them, and telling them how to answer these interview questions. And then they answer the interview questions on paper because we're about to get ready for our mock interviews. And they've learned how to buy a car and you've been there to talk to them about, they have to figure out how to buy a house and how to get insurance, and they really need to work on some tax stuff, stuff like that. But it is important. It is important to teach them. Sometimes we just take for granted that kids know, parents teach these things, and we all get busy in our day-to-day life. So,
yeah. And you hear a lot of people, and when you share these posts, people are like, "Oh, that's great that you're teaching that." But I think sometimes parents lose the reality that it needs to be taught in the house too.
Yeah.
They depend on teachers to teach it, but I've often had to tell some people that's like, "Oh, that should be taught in school." And I was like, "Well, as a matter of fact, like I know my wife teaches this, and then even my sister teaches like finance type stuff and curriculum. So it's probably, let's be honest, teenagers don't go home and tell their parents what
they
all
don't think back to it. Honestly, they don't think back until they're in that moment. It's just like them messaging me saying, what's your husband's number? They just remember. They don't remember much else.
Yeah. I mean, they're just kids.
They're just kids. They're not seeing the importance of it. Now, some, yes, absolutely, but some don't,
Yeah. So talking about the business, so we started out, you leased a place for a couple of years. We were fortunate to be able to buy this place right here beside the Mountain Goat, great traffic area. Been able to expand it. So just kind of the business, how you've been able to grow it, maybe some challenges that you faced. One of the things is I know sometimes like with this whole tariff stuff that happened last year, some of your suppliers were like, oh, it might take a little time to get this stuff in. So kind of talk about noise, chaos that you've had to deal with just within the business world.
Well, the business world is crazy. I mean, honestly, we've been very fortunate. Everything's more expensive. I mean, it just is what it is. And that's the world we live in. But we're still doing great. I mean, honestly, the biggest challenge, I guess, for me as a business owner is I come into it having this preconceived notion of what I wanted to sell. And I wanted to sell, girls' clothing because, I had a daughter that I named the store after. And I wanted to sell gifts because you can't get good gifts on the mountain, and you have to go off the mountain. So I wanted to do that. And then I was going to sell clothes because I like clothes, Well, I get in, I get all these things, and no hits on the kids' clothing, no hit, not as much on they love the clothing. So I kind of had to like backtrack on my market and be like, okay, this is one of my, so it's just a learning experience and a learning curve. And, I can't carry some flashy things because that's not my customer. When we go to market and somebody picks up a sequenced outfit or a, fringe or something, I'm like, okay, my customers are not going to like that, So some of the fun stuff I don't necessarily get to carry because I know my customer base now, but it's kind of just figuring that out. Now, I hate the financial aspect of it. You know that. You were my CFO.
I resigned from that.
CFO, retired CFO.
I resigned. I'll just be your landlord. Just make sure you pay your rent.
So that, I mean, I do not love all that part, obviously, but that is important. But yeah, just knowing my market is big.
So I remember I went with you to a couple of markets. For some reason, you asked my opinion, and I'm pretty sure the products that I picked out
have failed every time.
I don't know if any of them have ever sold.
No, they failed every time because you don't know my market like I do, obviously. You're not supposed to.
I'm not a boutique guy.
But now that was early on, so I'll let you have a little leeway with that. But that was early on.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the markets. You usually tell me.
And it gets on my nerves because you're being too loud because you're always working on your phone.
Because I'm always on the phone trying to close some type of mortgage or do something, and you're like, quit following me around.
I'm going to take females from now on, no offense, but
not a bad idea. So we've been blessed, and I like just the fact that you get to meet so many different interesting people. Maybe you can introduce me. I know you've already introduced me to a few of your customers. So you can do that. So I have
some very interesting customers. And that's one thing that, as a small business owner that you have to come to terms with is like, you think you know who your customers are going to be and you think it's going to be your friends and your family and your whatever. And although they are good customers, don't get me wrong, especially in this area in Monteagle where it's booming like it is, people just wouldn't realize how much it's booming. That's not going to be the case because if you only lived off of what you made from your friends and your family, it'd be very hard to make it. So I think kind of just basing, and realizing, hey, it's these tourists, it's these people that have moved in here. It's, things like coming through and, gonna get off the interstate and eat, and they're coming through and they're seeing us, So, I mean, that's really what keeps us going and what keeps us in the business.
Yeah. And I'd like the fact, like every now and then you'll introduce me and you'll say, oh, they are from here, or they are from there. So it's pretty neat. I mean, we have a lot of traffic coming through Monteagle.
I met lots of neat people and just really good friends now. So I like that.
So that's good. So let's kind of talk about just our crazy personal life. We have 3 children. 3, if they haven't made it through this far of the podcast. 3 wonderful children. So if they ever say we didn't say anything nice, we did.
We did.
We do have good kids, but first of all, when we had Brooks, we kind of coddled him,
Yeah, we
you
did.
know, and
He was the
then
first one, and we
he was
realized.
the first one. We babied him. Like we just. Do you remember how cold it was when we brought him home?
It was ridiculous.
It was like 4 degrees outside.
Yeah, it was crazy. He was born on New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, Tennessee lost to Virginia Tech. That was Lane Kivisson's first year. That's how I correspond with his birth.
Yeah. That's why he is the way he is today.
Maybe so. I kind of.
He's like the biggest Tennessee fan in I just don't even know how to tell you. Like.
Yeah, and then Willow came along a few years later. So all of our kids are 3 years apart.
3.5.
3.5. I don't know that did we necessarily plan it like that or
no. Well, I really wanted Brooks and Willow to be. I wanted my kids to be a little closer in age, but I just was never ready. I wasn't ready for that, and so Brooks did stay sick quite a bit because we had coddled him so much. I feel like so I was just traumatized from that, and then we had Willow in April, and April of 2013, and she about killed me literally.
I remember it was like terrible weather too. It was like tornadoes
out. We didn't have any. We had everybody in the world there for Brooks. Nobody there for Willow when she was born. Anyway, and then really nobody there for Briggs. But no, seriously, she about killed me because I had post-eclampsia. And if anybody's ever had eclampsia,
I know that was bad.
It was very bad. It's probably the sickest I've ever been. And so I had to go be hospitalized again for that. And they didn't say, don't have any more kids. But at the time, I think we were thinking maybe just, you wanted 3. And I've always thought that was more a full fill. And so, but once we had a boy and a girl, I was like, maybe not. And I had been so sick and stuff. And then lo and behold, the Lord saw fit to put
He had
had a sense of humor.
He had a sense of humor. Yeah. I remember talking to we were building a house at the time, and I remember talking to the contractor, and he was like in the middle of framing it, and I'm like, I think Jessica's pregnant. And he said, dude, you got to be out here in the morning. Like if we're changing anything, you got to be out here in the morning. And so we went through house construction while you were pregnant. Once again, we were living in my mama's basement, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we were living in the basement. Then we moved. Your mom and dad, they had just remodeled their house.
Yes.
We moved into it because you felt
But I had HELLP syndrome when I was pregnant after I had Briggs. You remember? They took him. Dad took me to the doctor for a checkup to be checked, and they put me in the hospital.
Every one of our kids was 2 weeks early on the
Yeah,
dot.
they were. And they put me in the hospital with him. The other 2, my water broke. Willow, my water broke at school. Which was very interesting. But and then Briggs, my water did not break, but they had to take me over because my blood pressure again was running high.
Once again, both boys born on the day that Tennessee played.
Your mama had to fuss on you with him.
She was not happy at all.
I know.
You were in labor. I was watching the TV. I was encouraging you watching the TV. We were playing a bad Appalachian State.
I remember that
game.
Mm-hmm.
And
we lost, didn't we?
No, I think we barely squeaked it out. But my mom was not happy with me.
No, because you were not paying attention to me. And then I ended up with HELLP syndrome. Just realized just how dangerous that was. He's lucky to died from that. And the doctor come in and said, you were not planning on having any more kids, are you? And I'm like, no, I wasn't really planning this one. But she said, it's probably not a good idea.
Do you remember Murfreesboro Hospital was so packed?
They had us in a closet.
We literally were in a closet.
I think we should have got some of our money back on that. But
like I had to move the chair from the door opening, and then your bed was stuffed right there.
Yes. But life without Briggs would be boring because he's probably our most easygoing. Well, I don't know if you call him easygoing. What's the word? Loving.
He's in the fun stage.
He's a fun kid. He's always been a fun kid.
But you know what was funny though is before we had kids, on my side of the family, all of nieces and nephew. Noah's the only nephew on that side. Then on the other side, we had Emma.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me, and this kind of bothered me before we had kids because you was like, I'll just be selfish. Like I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I can love them like my kids love this, and that kind of bothered me because.
Well, I was always afraid I wouldn't love because I loved them, and I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to love them like I love my niece and nephew. So I had a hard time with that. But I just think Dad used to always say he was selfish, which I never. Every now and then his selfishness would come out. Don't get me wrong, but like it was not bad. And I always thought I'm gonna be just like him, and I'm not gonna be selfish, and I'm not gonna be. I don't think I'm selfish. Do you?
No, I don't think you're selfish.
Yeah. No.
I mean, there's probably times I could probably point out between me and you, but just in general,
Yeah.
absolutely not as a mother.
No, I'm not selfish. I mean, my kids and you, regardless of what you think, come first. So.
Oh, I'll remember that.
Yeah.
That's good. But I think it takes for anyone out there that may have that same thought. There's just something different.
There is
when
something
you
different
have
about
your own
kids.
It's just, I mean, it's a world of different. We love our nieces and nephews totally. They're great, but there's something different when you have your own. And then a lot of people. I mean, you hear. If I'm giving advice to anyone who's going to become a parent, first of all, is you're going to have to figure out your parenting, your own style. You can take advice from people, but until you're actually walking in those shoes, you're going to do things different. I mean, and it's funny. I tend to find myself being similar to my dad in the way, because when the boys they'll ask me why they need to do something, the answer is because I said so. That's as simple as it goes. Yeah. But a lot of people.
But I get to be the easier parent because you are that way.
You do. I get to be more of the disciplinarian.
Just like I get to not deal with finances because that's your job now and that's what you do and you're more OCD about it. And I used to have to do it and I was miserable in telling you things like I'd rather have love or money, not love. But yeah.
What's our mortgage payment?
I have no idea.
When's it come out?
I have no idea.
Who do we pay it to?
I have no idea.
Point proven. On the finances.
Yeah, I need to probably know those things, but I do not, and it probably would stress me out a lot more. But that is your, job.
So we're trying to get better on a budget, right?
Yeah, Justin's got me three different cards. That's how we're on a budget right now.
We're going to see how that works. But managing kids, especially when we got 3. Now your oldest is driving. How do you feel about that?
I thought I would be, and I am stressed. Don't get me wrong. Like when he stayed out a little bit later the other night, I was a little bit stressed. But I kind of like it. And he enjoys it. You can tell he likes his little bit of having a little bit of freedom. And I think it's good. Other than the worry, obviously.
And the part that's challenging is, thank goodness for our parents, because they have helped us out tremendously when we've had to go separate directions, this one to this field or this, playing volleyball or whatever it is. But it can be challenging. And, I think there is a level to that puts stress on us as parents, as our marriage. I know there's been times I forgot to do stuff. I think I actually forgot to pick up Willow from volleyball practice yesterday.
We have always done that. Thankfully, I took care of it.
Yeah. But
actually, Mary took care of it.
But I think sometimes people get too wound up in that to not see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You get too stressed, and then by the time you know it, that situation's over with, and you look back at it, and if it caused a fight, if it caused an argument, you're like, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, in the thick of, we're about to start baseball in the next week, and we got one playing high school, one in 10U, which he'll be starting to pitch, and then you got Willow in the midst of volleyball. So, we're going to
have to divide and conquer.
We will have to divide and conquer, and then we'll probably have to call reinforcements with grandparents, because we don't want, not one of them has to have one of us at a game of some kind,
And that's what's hard, is because how do you decide where you're going to go?
And I don't believe in telling them they can't do something just because their sibling is doing something and we can't balance. I mean, we're going to make a way to do it, because I don't ever want to tell them they can't do something. I mean, I think it's so important. One of the last conversations I had with my daddy before he died was him telling me at a junior pro basketball game. Okay, this was before it even got in the thick of Brooks playing really in sports. He was when Daddy died? He was in 4th grade. So he told me that he thinks one of the best things that we done for Brooks was put him in sports, because Brooks was a little bit introverted and stuff, and I think Dad was saying, that it made him
calm than some of his friends.
Yeah, but it made him get out of his shell, because he was more introverted, and we put him in situations where he had to.
Yeah.
And I think it's built a lot of character for him.
Yeah, I think so too. Of course, I was not. I was the runt in my class. A lot of people don't believe this, but when I was a freshman, I was 4'11".
Mm-hmm.
I was little. When I got referenced in the hallways as that cute little boy, it didn't build my stamina. And, so we both, like you said, we're going to do anything we can. I try to make it known to them, I expect you or I want you to be involved in at least one thing.
Yeah.
And, and I'm not saying anything, but, my dad was like, hey, son, you take it or leave it.
Yeah.
From that standpoint. And that was fine. That was just,
I mean, Lindsay and I both tried. I mean, I tried basketball. Lord knows I was not very good at it. I'm not an athlete by no means. I mean, I probably would have been a decent cheerleader, but I didn't do that much either. But anyways, I loved sports. To this day, still love them. But, yeah, I feel like we come home a lot. We didn't do the sports thing.
And when I realized that I probably wasn't cut out for sports then, which I look back at it and I probably should have pushed through obstacles. So, something similar that Michael Jordan and myself have in common?
What?
We were both cut from the basketball team.
Oh, that's sad.
I was 4'11". His coach was just an idiot because he turned out to be the best player of all time, regardless of what anybody says. But I probably should have taken that. And that's what I try to tell Brooks right now within whatever he's doing. Briggs is still kind of young and even Willow. If you get faced with challenges, if you get faced with obstacles, with noises, then it's up to you to push through it.
Yeah.
Don't be a victim. I look back at myself, and which I didn't grow until my senior year, but I look at people today that are not big people and they push through it.
Yeah.
But I think over time that taught me a lesson is like, okay, I didn't react then the way I should have, but now I hate failing, but you're going to fail in life.
Yeah.
It's just how you rebound from it and how you go from there.
I agree.
So we're active, we're busy,
Booster clubs, running wild,
involved, and I think that's so important. I told the other two, I said, I'm wearing myself out right now. I said I may not be as active when you guys get to that point. Probably not true, but
I have time off.
I don't look at it necessarily as our kids. I look at it as all the kids.
Yeah. And I mean, like with football this year, I feel like some of those kids were just so appreciative to the things we did and, and stuff like that. And to me, it just warmed my heart to see that they were so appreciative and enjoyed their season. And to me, that's what it's all about.
And it comes back to the community sport too.
Yeah.
The fact that businesses we've had over the last couple of years, we've had such a great response from businesses stepping up and sponsoring. And, a lot of times I'll tell a business, I'm like, listen, if you're doing this for marketing purposes, is not good for your money. You're doing it for these kids in the community. So that's why I like to, I guess be a part of it and be involved and stuff like that. So a few rapid fire questions and we'll close out.
Okay.
What's the most romantic thing I've ever done for you? I'm just curious.
Do you remember? It was before we got married. Is that bad? I think.
That is bad if that's...
I think it's before we got married, maybe. You got me a bouquet of the flowers like that we were going to have at our wedding. Like you had me a bouquet made with all the flowers I told you that I wanted at our wedding. Not that you even cared. I was surprised you knew. And then you probably asked the florist, like, what is she saying that she wants? And it was very odd because usually they don't have those colors that time of year. But anyway, and then that Brooks and Dunn song that you love to play all the time that reminds you of me. You played it and we danced to it. You remember?
Okay, I do remember that.
I thought that was pretty romantic.
So I need to step up.
Off the top of my head, that was the one that stuck out. Yeah. Do you think that you were romantic at some point? I'm not remembering.
I do know after we were married for a year, I tried to plan a getaway.
You were going to bring that up.
And you blew it up.
Yeah.
Because
I don't like not knowing stuff like that.
I know. So I had a cabin reserved. It was our 1-year anniversary.
Did you refuse to take me after that?
No, I about did. But
did we end up going?
We ended up going.
Okay.
But you thought we were going to go spend because both of our birthdays are in July. Our wedding anniversary is in July. And you thought we was going to go spend time with your family. I think I told you we were maybe going to go out on the lake with our cousins and stuff like that. So I packed your bags and I had them at the bank. And my story was going to be, hey, there's a part that's broke on the boat. We have to go up to Sparta to get it. Well, that night, though, we were supposed to be going maybe to dinner with your parents or going to see your parents or something, and you pitched a fit.
I've grown up a lot since then.
I know. We that would be a whole nother show if we wanted to talk about some of
I
our
was pretty spoiled.
fall aparts.
Like mom and dad used to, I don't know if you know this, but I was thinking about this the other day. Mom and dad used to purposely not tell me of plans, which you did that too. But because like if the plan didn't happen and like was disappointed, I would be awful and stuff. And I don't know that helped
Well,
me.
you are pretty bad about.
I'm not anymore.
No, just this Valentine's Day, you was pretty bad about trying to spoil a plan.
Oh yeah, because I like to guess.
And so anyway, basically, I had to tell you we're going on a trip, and then you were like okay with it. But the it's kind of talking about that, you aggravate me because the reason I'm going to blame it on this. The reason I don't do anything romantic is because you're either constantly guessing or yes, I'm really predictable. When it comes down to it. But I got you one year. Do you remember you came by to see me at the bank? We were in McMinnville, and it was around Christmas time, and you said, hey, I'm going to go visit Sean. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And I called Sean, and I said, Sean, she is going to give you her ring. She's going to ask you to clean it. When you clean it, I need you to tell her that the diamond is loose on it and that you need to keep it.
Oh, yeah. Was that the setting?
Yes.
The setting that I wanted so bad.
So at the time, you just had a normal band, just a diamond. And Sean's like, dude, this is not a good idea. This is not a good idea. I was like, just do it. Mm-hmm. Good to have friends that are jewelers. So sure enough, he did. And immediately you leave out of the store and you give me a call and you're being a smart aleck. You're like, ha, ha, ha. Aha. So funny. Sean had to keep my ring. You said you wasn't getting me that setting.
Why do I tell you these things? Why do I not just shut up?
I know, for real.
I know.
And so
I have a bad problem with
that. That made me mad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm going to get her. So therefore, you go home, and I called Sean. He's like, dude, it played out perfect. It's exactly like you said. I told her it was hard to keep a straight face, but I've got her ring. And I was like, well, Sean, she's being a smart aleck. And at the time, I had planned on getting you the setting, but you were just a smart aleck. And so I went back to Sean's, and he's like, dude, this is a bad idea. He gave me your ring back, but then also he went ahead and gave me the setting without it in there. And I remember I took it back to you, and I think I told my sister, and she was like, you're an idiot. She's like, what are you, why would you do that?
Mad.
This is the dumbest thing.
When I ruin your plan or your excitement or whatever.
But I remember giving it to you.
Maybe try to do this not around holidays. Probably I'm expecting things around holidays.
Well, so I give you your ring back. I literally go in and I was come home for lunch. I'm like, here, Sean actually got it done. And then you broke down and you started crying on me.
I don't remember that. I'm not even a crier.
You're not. That was before you had kids.
Yeah, that's true.
So
hardened my heart or something afterwards.
So I'll try to do a better job at being more romantic. So we got off on a tangent with.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's
Ask
bad.
Me some other question.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Grease. You know that.
Yes, I know. I have to endure that soundtrack and everything that goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your favorite actor or actress?
Ooh, Reese Witherspoon. I like Reese Witherspoon a lot.
It's been a while. We watched a few movies while we were dating. That's something that people don't do this day and time.
No.
Let's go to the movies. We rented one at home the other night.
Yeah, I like her. I don't know. I like Tom Hanks. He's pretty good. I mean, there's several good actors.
What's your favorite food?
Well, we're talking sweets because you know what that is. Grilled pound cake from the High Point.
Yeah, we had that the other night. No, just in general food, not dessert. We know it's grilled pound cake now.
Gosh, I love all foods. I don't know. I love home cooked food.
Okay.
I don't know. Steak? I don't know. Is that what you expect me to say? I mean, that's what I order everywhere we
that's
go.
what you order everywhere.
Yeah.
You used to order chicken.
Did I?
Yeah, when we were dating. And then now
I've become high maintenance, see.
You are high maintenance. You've steak. Any place in the world that you could travel to, where would that be?
Say the Maldives or anywhere that I can get in one of those huts over the ocean.
That means I have to close a lot a lot more mortgages than this
Yes.
podcast has to
I
take
hope
me
it's
to
going to reach lots of
Joe
people
Rogan
so we
status
can
or
afford to
something.
do that, because that is a bucket list item. We've got a few of our bucket lists checked off.
We have. Yeah, we've been fortunate at that. So this is so as far as the podcast goes,
Mm-hmm.
someone that you can think of that I should have on the show, and this would be like someone that we could probably get legitimately within the county, Tennessee, something like that. Who do you think would be a cool guest?
I already told you a ton. We kind of compiled the list together.
You taking credit for my list?
Are we just gonna say? You want me to just say one person?
Well, I mean, so right now I've compiled a list of like 100 people.
Well, I'll tell you the most recent one I told you. John Dwyer, who is the JAG CEO, he actually has his own podcast. He used to be a journalist for the Nashville News.
He's on News Channel too. I remember watching.
Yeah, he was a sports.
Yeah,
he covered a lot of sports stuff, and so he would be awesome to talk about the nonprofit what JAG is and the nonprofit that it is, and how you can give back and stuff like that, and the 501c3 and how he developed everything that it is today. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. One podcast guest that would be like a long shot, like no way he could land that person. I'm talking about anybody in the world. Like, who would be a cool person?
Peyton Manning.
You know,
I know he does have some ties, but
All right.
we're huge Peyton Manning fans around here.
Yeah,
So
anybody that knows Peyton Manning, has the inside on Peyton Manning, that would love to come on Above the Noise.
like, he's hilarious. He would be so funny.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Which just right down the road,
Yeah.
Sweetens Cove.
Mhm.
He's a partner in that golf course.
Yeah.
He's got family. I think his son goes to Baylor in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Any questions that I didn't ask you?
Do I need to ask you some?
We've already been.
You want me to rapid fire you?
I don't know.
Okay, I will.
Put me on the spot.
Next time.
I don't know what you got. Have you got something?
What's your favorite quality about me? You know, I'm a words of affirmation person.
Wow. Really put me on the spot.
That shouldn't be that hard.
No,
I have all
just
kinds about you.
Great.
Because you're not a words person. This is hard for you.
It is hard for me because you're putting me on the spot, and this broadcast might reach 2 people or thousands of people. I mean, you've always been a huge supporter of me. You've also brought me down to earth a lot. But I think that's one of your biggest things, is not just for me, it's for the kids. You know, you've always supported them, but you know, more than that, it's just the love that you show not only to us as your family, as husband, as, you know, the kids, but just the love that you show to everybody. The funny thing about you is, and this is kind of a guy's, but I think you're more talented when it comes down to it. But you can ask a guy, hey, you met somebody, who are they, whatever. If you meet somebody, you literally can tell their whole life story. Like, you have a way of just kind of like finding them. Like, you talked to him for 5 minutes. How did you know that? Like, I've been talking to him for weeks now.
Because you don't ask the right questions. Like, I think another job.
You're trying to hijack my podcast.
Another job that I would be good at would be an investigator. No joke.
You watched a lot of Dateline.
I do watch a lot of Dateline. I probably shouldn't tell that on this podcast, but I do watch a lot of Dateline.
Yeah. So if I end up missing, first suspect.
So, but honestly, being an investigator would be so cool. But I don't think I could sleep at night. So, but yeah, I think I'm good at that. So, yeah, one of my good friends says all the time that I am the best person to investigate somebody because I can figure it out. But I care. Dad was good at that. He could meet somebody for the first time and ask, you know, the right questions.
And that was the thing about your dad is, and I think I actually said this at his funeral, if he met you for the first time, you become his new best friend.
Yeah, you did.
And he got so involved and so caring for you. And I think that's a trait that, you know, that he has passed on to you, is that you have that eagerness to learn about people.
And I can't, like, I'm not asking people because I just want to make conversation. Genuinely,
You're genuinely curious. I'm
genuinely curious about them.
Have you figured out everything about me you need to know?
No, I can read you like a book, and you know this.
That's why it's so hard to be romantic.
It is.
It's
I can read you like a book.
because you just point everything
I
out.
mean,
So.
since we've been sitting here talking to each other, like I almost know what you're going to ask me before you ask me, and it's very strange. That's very weird.
So maybe we should. Do
maybe which everybody says opposites attract, but I just don't think we're that opposite. So
finances were opposite.
Finances were opposite.
We like to talk though. We're similar there.
But you haven't always been that way.
Probably not.
No, you changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have all my dad's qualities. You like your yard. You like Afro nose spray. You like people more.
There was I cannot remember. It was not the yard. There was something I did the other day, and I intentionally did it because it was something exactly like that he would have done.
Well, you love labels on stuff too.
I do label. I mean, I don't know.
There's so many things that you do that I will text my mama and be like, or my sister, and I'm like, he's just like Daddy. I mean, and it's happened more since he's been gone than when he was here, I think, which is kind of a God wink, I think. I don't look at it as, a negative thing or whatever. It's just a God wink, I think. Yeah. It's not a bad thing.
Well, that's just the way it goes.
Because most of the stuff he did didn't really drive me crazy as far as that goes.
What's one thing that you want to maybe be more consistent about in 2026 throughout the year that you want to do, business related, personal related, whatever it is? What's one thing that you want to do
this year?
Yeah, read Atomic Habits, maybe.
I'm not even lying to you. I was going to say that. No, I'm not going to read Atomic Habits. I might listen to it on my audiobook.
I've got it on audiobook.
He has been shoving that book in my face for weeks, probably months actually. But something I want to do personally or professionally, right? I really don't know. You've stumped me.
Oh, so you didn't know what I was going to ask?
No, well, I didn't know in that direction. I mean, yeah, I have goals, but I think just becoming a healthier, all around, better person. Healthy, like I want to get healthy. I want to start working out, and this is holding me to it. I want to start doing things like intentionally as far as that goes, and making a better, making it the year of being healthy. I think that's probably mine. What's yours?
So, my dad aggravates me all the time about going and playing golf more with him.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing what we've been through with your dad. So that would be it. I've got to carve out that time.
Okay, I hope he's listening.
He's not listening at this point. He's
done. He fell asleep.
He's telling Mom
he fell asleep in their recliner.
He's telling Mom to summarize up. But, it does because we get too consumed with life. We get too consumed with making money. Yeah. We get too consumed with
I'll never go to Murfreesboro by myself without thinking about my daddy going with me. And I will never, he used to, if I had to go somewhere after he retired and I had to go somewhere and he would go with me, and I think about it every time.
Yeah. So
you got to spend that time with people.
If he is listening by now, or if Mom's talking to him, is to carve out that 1 or 2 days a month and just to go. I've heard other people talk and they've encountered similar situations. So yep, that's what I want to do in 2026.
You're going to hold me to this because now I'm the podcast. And so you're going to be like, did you do that? Justin, you are all about setting goals.
You want me to tell you a good way
it's great. And I love that you do it.
Let me tell you a good way to start.
What?
Reading Atomic Habits.
Oh my gosh. I have been reading my Bible more. That's more important than Atomic Habits.
It is more important than Atomic Habits.
Actually, I'm listening to it because I can understand it better that way.
Yeah. So, well, that's it for episode 1, I guess. Unless you got anything else.
Mm-mm.
You good?
I'm good. Right. I need more rapid fire next time.
You going to call John Dwyer and get him teed up for me? He's got a great story.
He does have a good story.
Even going back to I've done a little research on him, so even back to his family, that's very interesting where he comes from.
I'll send him this podcast.
Okay. Bless us. The only way anybody's going to get through this podcast is probably if they got a 2-hour drive and nothing's picking up.
We'll condense it.
You think so? So, all right. Well, that'll do it for the first episode of Above the Noise with my lovely wife, Jessica. Sponsored, I guess you could say this episode sponsored by
the Whimsy Willow.
The Whimsy Willow.
My whole outfit and my accessories come from there.
Maybe we'll get bigger sponsors down the road.
We should.
I don't know.
If you want to sponsor us, hit us up.
Yeah. So until then, hopefully you stayed in tune. If you got suggestions about future podcasts or future podcast guests, we'd love to hear that. We're wanting to connect with people, and she's already said that she might have to be a co-host sometimes, but we're wanting to connect with people. And I've got some great stories already lined up of people who have overcome, let's say, family, not necessarily family issues or obstacles that they didn't think they could get beyond. And then people who have battled addiction and are now, doing great in life. So I'm really excited to share those stories.
Yeah.
So if you know of anyone that maybe has a good story to tell, we would love to get their story out there just to give encouragement to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited.
All right.
Excited to listen.
I love you.
Love you too.
Even though I'm not romantic.
Definitely not.